All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Soccer for You. That's what we're calling this podcast. And today we have a special guest for our first ever podcast. It's a very respected individual, Mr. Carmine Issaco. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Amazing. Okay. Did you want to start by telling us a bit about yourself, sir?
Well, I'm they call it the master coach. I'm not sure if that has any relevance to me, but
No,
I coach some men and women at York University, and I am the assistant coach at York9 FC, working with Jimmy Brennan, and been involved with Vaughan Soccer Club for a long time, and been with the national program for off and on since I don't even remember. So it's been a while.
Very long time.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Where did it all start? You know, where did your love for the beautiful game begin?
You know what? I just enjoyed the game. I really didn't have an idea to make it a feature for me. And then I was playing a little bit with the national program. And to be honest, I played with basketball ahead of soccer. But I continued playing soccer at a high level, and it just ended up one day that the universities came calling, and I was like, you know what, I'll try to make this work. So I ended up at the University of Maryland, playing soccer, and had a decent career there, and then I ended up playing professionally in the States for a little while. Back in my day, there was the indoor circuit and the outdoor circuit that kind of worked together. So I spent a lot of time in Milwaukee playing for the Milwaukee Wave and the Milwaukee Rampage. And it was a little bit pre-MLS. And then when MLS did come along, I was picked up by I was drafted by LA. Earlier on by Coach Ralph Perez, but there was a 3 foreigner rule, and Canadians were recognized as foreigners. So I ended up just playing indoor-outdoor for as long as I could. And then while I was playing in Edmonton, I had an offer to be a technical director of a club, and I was doing my licensing in the States. So my old coach in the States, Bob Gansler, who was a national team coach, MLS coach, so I took a lot from him, and then I ended up starting to run the back in the day it was called the CS Azuri program. We've had some incredible players come through the program, like Junior Hoylett, who's with Cardiff City now, and Jamie Peters, who spent some time with a lot of time with Ipswich, Andrea Lombardo. The names go on and on and on. Players that have played professionally all over the world. So, and then I ended up making a transition to Vaughan Soccer Club eventually, and then University of Toronto. I put the head coaching for the men position there, and we were successful there. And then that was 2005, 2006. By 2007, I decided that York University would be the best option, but Toronto FC also came calling, so it was the best University of I was on the coaching staff in 2007, and that was quite an experience. And it was lucky that I've been kind of part of 2 historical dates. The first game of Toronto FC, first game of Major League Soccer in Canada, and the first game for the Canadian Premier League, which is definitely lucky to be part of those 2 days for sure.
Absolutely. So one of the things that you mentioned was how soccer for someone who's trying to be a professional player was different back then than it is today. Could you inform us about what are the major differences back then compared to now?
Well, back then, going to school in the States wasn't really that big of an option. And there was the Canadian Soccer League back then, the CSL, which was a fantastic league. And it was really the reason that the national teams competed and actually won a Gold Cup with a bunch of players playing in the Canadian Soccer League as well. So back then, the Vancouver 86ers There was teams in Calgary. There was teams all over Canada. There was teams in Halifax. There was teams in North York. Toronto Blizzard was there as well. North York Rockets were there. And the quality of the league was fantastic. The quality of the league, and there was another league called the National Soccer League, which was filled with a lot of foreigners. And myself, I played for Toronto Tide back in the day. I went to school in the States, came back, and the attendance, and it was well followed, and it was community driven. Toronto, Croatia, and they had a Hispanic team, so the communities were young first generation people playing, or players from just came over from Croatia or from South American countries, the Canadians were there as well. So I decided that I would forego the CSL and play at the University of Maryland, and there were professional options, but the way the CPL is organized, and obviously social media and streaming and all the new nuances of the new world of communication didn't exist back then. But we would still get 5,000-6,000 per game, and and the following was fantastic, and just the community support was fantastic. So that was the way things worked back then. And then after the CSL went defunct because of basically bad infrastructure from not only the league but from the Canadian Soccer Association back then, you had to find different avenues to play. And coming out of school, the National Soccer League still existed, and it actually combined with the Canadian Soccer League. So some of the teams from the National Soccer League, like the Rockets and Winnipeg Fury, came into the NSL and made the CNSL. So we had to find ways to make a living, and the indoor circuit was big, but there was no real outdoor circuit in the States back then. And when I finished school, there was the beginnings of an outdoor, and I remember the first contract I got, I was offered in the States by Hampton Roads Mariners, and it was still the USL back then, and they offered $50 a game, so and room and board, but it wasn't really a choice back then. So I came home and played in the Canadian National Soccer League, and then I ended up playing in the indoor circuit, and then the US League started taking off in the middle '90s.
That's good. That's great to hear.
Yeah. I'm aging myself as well, so.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so you were a goalkeeper, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this question is just for the goalkeepers out there, right? They tend to get a lot of criticism, more criticism than any outfield player, considering the amount that's on their shoulders. As a goalkeeper, do you feel like the amount of criticism, let's say for instance right now, right, David De Gea, right?
Yeah.
The amount of criticism that he's getting for his performances. As a goalkeeper, do you sympathize with him, or do you feel like, no, he should be doing better?
Well, you see, the best keepers in the world are their own worst critics, right?
Right.
So, I empathize. I'm not sure it's sympathy, but I'll empathize. You have a little bit of a law. He'll grow, and the best thing about it is the critics are minute little noises when what's going on in your own head. So I do empathize, and he's probably beating himself up more than anyone else can beat him up anyway.
That is true.
But you know what? His pedigree and what he's done and what you do and how you mentally have to go through those things and go through those things is why you take the responsibility of being a goalkeeper.
That's great. Okay, so you were briefly an assistant goalkeeping coach at Toronto FC, is that correct?
No, I was the goalkeeping coach.
The goalkeeping, okay.
So, and I was an assistant with the first team on the reserve team. So we were in the first team, and I was a goalkeeping coach for Greg Sutton, and I wasn't started at CFC.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what was the most interesting or important thing that you learned as working in Toronto FC in general?
At the games, I mean, that was a different side of the professional game that I saw, and you learn that it's not all about integrity and ability, and there's a dark side to it about the game, the professional game, and you need to have a thick skin, and you need to learn how to take criticism. You need to learn how to grow and develop. And I was using that whole process to develop as a coach, and I learned a lot of what not to do with the people involved over there, and it took me further, and I grew from it, and I took a lot of life lessons through that for sure. And you base it on how you want to be as a person and how you want to develop and grow and do those things.
Absolutely. Okay. And okay, so you were the head coach of the soccer team for the University of Toronto, right, for a bit?
Yes.
And then you moved over.
2005, 2006. Yeah.
Nice. And then you moved over to York, right?
Yes.
That's because we're better, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Did you want to?
I mean, my experience at UFT was fantastic. Great people I worked with. A great bunch of players as well. We went to the national finals. Lost on a PK that wasn't a PK, and then the year after we went to national finals again and ended up losing in the quarterfinals. But it was a great learning experience, and to be honest, I really loved the OU game. But when I made my transition to TFC, I really believe that York was the place where I could grow and I wanted to be. And I had the opportunity to go, and I told TFC that, look, I am going to TFC, and I'm going to be part of the CIF game because I enjoy it and I like it. And then and there was also Anthony Capitoso there at the time at UFT, and he bred Blue, and he was a good friend, and I think the opportunity would fit him more, and I think in the end it all worked out.
That's great. That's great. So what's unique about York University's soccer team compared to all the others?
I think it has a lot to do with the culture that the first groups built when we started here 12, 13 years ago, 14 years ago. I mean, there was a group that came in with Jamal Smith and Luca Forno and Frankie Bruno and Franco Ruscetta and Gerard Ladieu. Not only were they incredible soccer players, but they just loved each other. Douglas Soretti, they just had an incredible bond, and they started what would be the New York University soccer program. That they held high standards. They held other people to high standards, and the group coming in just took it and learned from them and built from them and held standards, the same standards that they held, and it was kind of a continuum of great messages and good soccer players, and that group really was the platform of I think what York University soccer shaped itself to be.
That's great. That's great to hear. Okay, let's go on to probably the most important thing to us right now, the Canadian Premier League and York9 FC. Could you start by telling us a bit about both the Canadian Premier League and York9 FC?
Well, the Canadian Premier League, I mean, we'll talk about the World Cup 2026 that Canada's going to be hosting with Mexico and the U.S. So there'll be about 10 games in Canada, probably 4 games in Toronto, maybe more. So that was the initiation of the Canadian Pro League. So there was a need for it. So to be able to host, you had to have a domestic league. But I don't think that was the passion behind it. I think Victor Monteliani, who's the CONCACAF president now and former CSA president, and now he's, I think, vice president of FIFA as well. He's the one who wanted a grander picture of what Canadian soccer should be, and that we needed our own Canadian Pro League predominantly for Canadian players. we talk, so many people have gone through the systems, the national team systems, or the youth systems of the youth national team, and they talk about how players let them down, and how the point that they made, and rightly so, was that the infrastructure had to be a better development platform for these players. So it wasn't the player letting down the national program, it was the national program and the infrastructure letting down the players. Mm-hmm. So the CPL was motivated by that, motivated by giving Canadian players. And we thought that, Toronto FC and Vancouver Whitecaps and Montreal Impact would be that platform for Canadian players, but obviously it's not. Obviously, when you see one or two Canadians playing, and we have to celebrate the fact that there's one or two Canadians playing in a professional game, it's kind of sad. So this Canadian Premier League has features of 6 or 7 Canadian players. I mean, on the field for Hamilton for the first game, there might have been 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 foreigners out of the 22 players. Ooh. Maybe 4 foreigners. So that's more like it. And the standards and the development and the coaching and all that stuff is gonna allow our game to grow. And even from that game alone, you're only hearing players maybe getting called in for the national team. Yeah. Like our own Ryan Telfer, who scored the first goal in Canadian Premier League history.
Oh yeah, that's a historic goal that I don't think any one of us will forget.
Yeah, I definitely won't. So
yeah, how does it feel, by the way, like as a coach, as a person who's coached him all the way from York University up to Toronto FC and then to York9 FC? Like, how does it feel?
Ryan is a special human being. Like, Ryan went through a lot of crap even at York. I mean, he started on the developmental team, didn't get too many opportunities because we wanted to focus. We had a really good team and we won a national championship. And he was just coming into his own. In the summer of 2015, after we won a national championship, he just did really well with Vaughan League One, and you could see him coming into his own and becoming quite a player. And he ended up being a superstar in League One, and over the next year in OUA, he just excelled. And TFC came knocking on the door right away, and the rest is history for that. But nobody really, no one gave him chances. He had to earn everything, and that's why he's a special human being. He never cried. He never said, "Oh, it's this person's fault or that person's fault." He just came and he played and he worked hard, and he became what he became. And it's a great story.
Oh yeah, 100%. And okay, so the one thing that a lot of people tend to forget, and this is with sports in general, it's the mental strength that's necessary to play at the highest level, right? I don't know, from what I understand, or from what I noticed with other people, right? They'll see a player and be like, "Yo, they're earning millions, right? It's easy job," but it's not, right?
Yeah, it's not. No, for sure it's not. But what we need to understand is that there's players that can still play. The goalkeeper, 17 years old, playing first games in City I with Parma. And you know what? He didn't worry or anything. He just went and played. He enjoyed it. He was coached well, and he went and played. There was no added stress or so there's some people that can kind of put up a force field to the stress and just play. And some people excel. Other people, there's so many resources out there, mental resources, mental coaches, strength, sports psychologists, so many people that we even have at York University as well, that you can, but you know what? If you're not afraid, like Ryan Telfer was never afraid. Was never afraid to fail. Was never afraid to be mediocre. Was never afraid to be great. Right? That mentality really was important to how he developed. That whatever. I just want to play, which was Ryan Telfer in a nutshell. That was really important. I mean, he didn't let the world around him really affect his time on the field, and he excelled at that, which was important, for sure.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's talk about Generation IX for a moment. They're the supporters group for York9 FC.
Generation 9. They're at practice. Some of the guys were at practice today. They were fantastic.
Nice.
At Hamilton, they were brilliant. They were brilliant. The chance, the group that they brought together, we had about 2,000 supporters there. It was different class, for sure. And some of you guys who do podcasts need to come and join the chanting and the celebrating of the game.
We
you guys need to celebrate the game.
We will.
Not by talking about it, by doing it, by getting there, getting to the York 9 games, getting to the York University games.
Absolutely, no. Trust me, it's in our plans. We will come. Like, we have everything planned out. We will be there at games, and you will know we are there as well. Like, I'm gonna make sure you guys know.
If you guys need help from us organizing anything, you just let us know.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So you were there from the beginning of the start of York9 FC. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Brennan and Craven, the president, and Jimmy Brennan was the vice president, director of soccer operations. They're the ones who kind of put this all together. They're the ones who agreed to do it in York region. They're the ones who gathered the people like the Baldessars, the Green Park Home, to believe in what was. So, the game against Hamilton was really special day for that, for sure. I've been around, and I've been around probably a year and a half, but they've been doing this for a lot longer. So, they're the ones that kind of, did the work, sold the dream, and dreamed the dream.
Absolutely. But what did you notice with this? Okay, I mean, it depends on if you've been through the process of starting up with a new club, I guess. But no, just seeing this club start up from the ground up, how does it? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it altogether? Just seeing the club start up from the beginning and being a part of it.
Yeah, it's like your son or your daughter, your baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want it to grow properly. You want it to have a great identity. You want it to have a very positive vision and a positive impact on community around you. All that stuff's important. You want to watch it grow, and you want the news to be iconic. But you can't get from step 10 years down the road from step 1. So every day is developing a culture, developing the standards that you want your players to keep and you want to keep. So I think that's important right now. Standard building and culture building and integrity and ability. That's all important right now. So this York 9 name grows up to be an iconic and well-respected name in the community and in Canada.
Oh yeah.
And who knows? Maybe North America.
I'm positive it will be someday. And fun fact, this is just a little story. I went to the Maple Leaf Square, where they watch the Leafs and the Raptors game. So it was in when the Leafs were playing the Bruins in Game 7, and I was wearing my York9 FC scarf, and literally 3 minutes into me being there, I had a guy come up to me and he's like, "Yo, I'm so glad to see you wearing that." And he was just so excited for York9 FC in general, and that just made me feel so good.
That's a great story.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a great story.
And I'm like, I was excited to know I was not alone, basically. Amongst all the the Raptors and Leafs fan, they have a big fan base here. So to be amongst that, to see that York9 FC has a say in there, it felt good. that I'll say.
Yeah, that's amazing. You guys share that story because a lot of people are probably in the same boat, and your story is gonna influence 3 more people, and your group will influence, 10 more people and 50 more people, and we've got to, for the team and for the community and for everyone involved, we've got to embrace this for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. York9 FC, what are their objectives this year in terms of the league table?
I mean, obviously every team in the league is going to say we want to win it.
Yeah.
We want to win and we want to be champions and everything, but I think that what we talked about earlier is developing a cultural identity, developing just being at our best with every roll of the ball and being at our best as an organization and a team on the field and earning respect. That's I think that's what we want to do. And I think that if we do those things right, the results will happen. But we've got to get that stuff right. We've got to get the substance right, and then worry about wins and losses after the substance is taken care of.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Another thing, and this is we're going to be moving away from the York9 FC spectrum and more into European football. Okay.
Sure.
What team do you support?
Sorry?
What team do you support?
I am a massive Inter Milan fan.
Back in the day, okay.
No, back in the day, from the beginning, from Walter Zenga and Werner and Berti, Nicola Berti. I've been an Inter Milan fan for a long time, and yeah, we're going through some struggles right now, but who knows?
You're still decent side.
Mourinho may be back.
Oh, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about in the Sorry, go ahead.
In the Premiership, I mean, I stay true to my predictions because I also work with Jason Portuando on 98.7 on Saturday mornings. At 10 a.m. we do like a soccer show.
Nice.
Just to stay true to my predictions, I did say Man City would win the league, and I did say that Liverpool would come through as one of the new big teams in European football, and I think that they're going to boss Barcelona in the semi-final round. I don't know if they're going to win, but I think they're going to boss. They're going to have more of the ball, and they're going to be. There's still the special players, Messi, Suarez. They can make a difference with touches on the ball also. And Coutinho, this is going to be a big one for Coutinho.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I mean, I would the Premier. I think that the Liverpool Manchester City battle is amazing. It's something that we won't see for a long time, and I think that every other country in the world needs to see that, because I think the English Premier League right now, the Premiership is way ahead of every other league, and that type of quality, that type of title race is just refreshing for the game, and they're just like Federer and Nadal going toe to toe, holding serve, see if who breaks who quickly first. But my predictions, I'd like to see Manchester City win it, but I think Liverpool is a world-class team now.
Yeah, but in terms of teams you support, which team do you support?
In the Premiership, in the Premier League, no, I don't support anyone. I mean, I don't support anyone.
Is there a team?
I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of I'm a fan of the game, and I'm a fan of Liverpool right now. And I would have liked Chelsea do better, but Chelsea is the Napoli of Italy right now, and probably even worse. But sorry, make some interesting decisions when his football's nice, but that's predictable, and he doesn't really have any flexibility. But I would have liked them to do better. And again, I'm a big Mourinho fan, because people talk about complete football and result-oriented football and all that stuff. And they just criticize Mourinho up and down, but you need to do what you need to do to win games sometimes. And there's people talk about a philosophy or style of play. The style of play good defending team. You have to be a good attacking team. You have to be good in possession. You have to be good without the ball. You have to be good in all the transitions in between. So there's no style. There's just winning. And I think Mourinho, although he needs to adapt to his locker room but I think he better than anyone else understands that.
Okay. Okay, just quick follow-up. Who's your team in La Liga? Barca or Real Madrid?
How could you not be a Barcelona fan? But
okay.
I just because of the connectedness of the Barcelona, that I think Barcelona, the new Barcelona it was always massive, whether it was white cards, but I think the new Barcelona was built by Pep Guardiola and his mentality and his vision of the game, and you have to respect that. And now it's going to be the same thing with Zidane, and I think Zidane, as he proved last year, and he's going to prove moving forward, that although there's going to be a new Real Madrid winning mentality and way to play, and that's going to be Zidane. But I think Barcelona and Real Madrid are incredible stories. And Atletico Madrid is an incredible story. I mean, Simeone and the way they play is the way he is. He'll bite someone's ear off just to get a win, and that's the way you see it. So. Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of those groups for sure, but I would say a little bit of Real Madrid over Barcelona, but Pep in Barcelona and everything after that has been just incredible to watch. So and an incredible teacher,
absolutely,
to me and to everybody.
That's very true. Okay, Messi or Ronaldo? Just quick answer.
What's that? Sorry, one more time.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi, but respect Ronaldo.
Of course, you have to respect both of them. Absolutely. Okay. I was told to ask you that question. That's why I asked you.
Messi.
Yeah. I was going to talk to you. Okay, another thing. We have a couple of our members here at the club asking about how to go about playing with a varsity team, for instance.
Sure.
I don't know how to answer that question to them apart from going to tryout.
There's a recruiting process that we go through.
Okay.
But
would you mind explaining that?
Sorry, a recruiting process is. We look at national programs. We look at whether it's club programming, MLS academies, and we do a lot of showcases. Right. So there's a long process to recruiting, and a lot of players come with a certain pedigree and a certain experience, whether in local high-level leagues. So that's the first way to get noticed. And the other way is with open trials, we do see things, and we try to give players at least a few days to show themselves and how they compete against our group. But what you have to understand is the university does put restrictions on us on how many players we can have. So we do have type of a developmental system, but it's not that big anymore because we've kind of been handcuffed with that. But you look at players that, like, we had Tyrone Downs, who was part of the open tryouts. Hung on, trained, hung on for a few years, and then came and won 2 national championships as a starting player. Ryan Telfer, you know what happened there.
Yeah.
So then there's a kid like our kid right now is Omar. Omar was a first team all-UA, tied for leading scorer and he came from basically a high school tournament that we just noticed him and we saw some raw ability, and he just worked and worked and worked. So there's ways there's ways to get recruited, but you need to understand that there's a certain level and a standard that you need to be at. And you know what? I and my staff make mistakes all the time. We make mistakes in identification, and we tell people that, hey, at the open tryouts, we say, look, man, we know this is your dream, and we don't want to quash this dream. But, I mean, we need to be responsible to the university, and we need to try and do what we think is right. And what we think is right is not always the end-all, be-all. So when you come to open tryouts, we'll do our best to evaluate you properly. Whether it's pace, whether it's physical ability, whether it's technical ability, or usually there's the ability to do things, both those things, right? At a certain level. Right. So if you want to prepare, to try out for York University, you definitely need to be playing at a high level.
Right, and that includes all the abilities you'd expect from one who plays, right? Including the stamina, as you said, the physical ability, all the other abilities in general, really, right?
Yeah, technical ability, physical ability, the combination of both. Technical ability, we'll work on that, but a lot of the stuff you need to have is a change of pace, it's a quickness, is a speed, is a definitely a ball control, the ability to pass the ball properly, be good decisions, and the only way you're going to get those things is by playing at a decent level, right, at a high level.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a lot of guys come in and playing and at the level of playing in the gym there, and they're the best futsal players in there, but they think they're going to make the team right away. But there's a massive transition from the York University gym to a men's soccer team, right? So that's or the women's soccer team, But we like to give everyone an opportunity to showcase themselves and show themselves. So we will do our best to make sure that we take a look.
Absolutely. And when are the open tryouts, if you don't mind me asking?
You should look at York9.ca. They're usually around August 15th.
Okay.
The morning of August 15th. So if they want it, they can look at they'll have the details of when exactly the open tryouts are, but around that time is usually the time of open tryouts.
Okay, thank you. And
okay.
Yeah, so I know some other people who are interested in playing at so they want to play competitively with other people, but they don't know where to go.
Well, they should go to the Ontario Soccer League has different levels of playing, and they're always looking for people and players and teams. So there's like multi-jurisdictional teams, there's regional teams, and there's provincial teams. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you go to those teams, if you go to the Ontario Soccer League, they'll get you information to play in those leagues and see where you can go with that.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we've had a long show.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
If you guys need anything, just let me know.
Oh, definitely will. All right, appreciate it.
All right.
Take it easy.